Hello, I'm Harrison Rose and welcome to a brand new season of Real, the show that ventures into the domain of community and people from the perspective of young Melburnians. This season on Real, we'll be looking at creating healthy communities, what makes a community healthy, and when do we have the power to make a change. In this week's episode, we will be addressing the roles of gender, sex, and sexuality, and some of the stigmas that they are paired with. Join me as we unravel, untwine, and unwrap some of society's greatest sexpectations. And if you have something to say, don't hesitate to leave us a comment with the hashtag RealSex. Coming up a bit later, the person behind the profession. How much do we really know about sex workers? And gender binary, male or female. But what if that's just not for you? We will also take a glimpse into the brutal world of Muay Thai through the eyes of a young woman, her aspirations, achievements, and obstacles. But first, we break down some of the identities that make up the queer community with the musical piece, We're Here, We're Queer. So what role do sexual expectations play in our community? Are they fundamental to our identity? And how are they affecting individuals? Up next, we have Speak for Yourself, an investigation into community acceptance of self-assigned gender.
Sometimes I feel like it makes a difference.
My name's Zach Cooper. I tend to describe myself as trans feminine.
Hi, my name's Jessica. I identify as trans female.
My name's George Munro. I identify as gender queer, gender fluid, and gender non-binary.
I'm MJ. I identify as agender.
People don't like to define me as female because I don't pass
A tranny as delusional.
One thing that I need to get better at, and I think everyone who's a queer ally should get better at, is saying what people's pronouns are when you first meet someone.
I didn't feel safe when I was living with my parents, but moving out of home and living with people I know has made it a safe environment for me.
I never really want to go into just a women's public toilet unless I'm wearing a skirt or something, because then it's too easy for people to harass you.
I wish people would stop automatically assuming that you can be one thing or the other, or any.
I'm kind of relatively privileged to be white, so people tend to listen to me when I speak, but then now I'm not a man, so they're like, oh, we don't want to listen to you.
I think in terms of gender diversity, just seeing so many young people to feel like the only option they've got is to take their own lives, I mean, that makes me so angry.
The gender binary often makes me pretty mad. Driving often makes me angry.
I see in a lot of the people around me just this relentless sort of desire to understand and to empathise.
Well, I'd really like to transfer out of law into musical theatre and become a drag queen.
I hope that people can get over themselves enough to just allow people to be people.
It seems that taking the time to educate ourselves about these issues would make a world of difference to gender diverse people. It's incredible to note the changes that we could make if we owned the responsibility to educate ourselves on the issues facing those around us. Make sure to tune in after the break when we will be having a one-on-one with a gender and sexuality expert to discuss where gender alters the experience of public safety. Welcome back to Real. Don't forget to show us some real love by using the hashtag RealSex. And now for 5 fast facts. Did you know that in Virginia, it is illegal to tickle a woman? In Norway, sex work is illegal, but it is legal to be a sex worker. In Ohio, the maximum number of women that can live together in a house is 5, to prevent the formation of a brothel. Also, in Tennessee, it is illegal for a woman to drive by herself, unless a man is running or walking in front of the vehicle waving a red flag. In Italy, a man can be arrested for wearing a skirt.
Mamma mia!
Rarely enforced and clearly outdated, most of these laws should be reassessed for the modern age. Broken bones and bruised skin is nothing but a cakewalk for Muay Thai enthusiast Yoshi Lee. Sarah Guganovic's film, Girls Who Fight, chronicles a young lady's battle inside of the ring and outside.
Even if you fight a girl or a guy, it actually doesn't matter.
Males tend to do more power.
I've seen girls just come out and surprise guys very often.
Yeah, not to be underestimated.
My name is Yoshi Lee. I'm 22. I have been doing Muay Thai for coming up to 3 years now. Muay Thai is a martial arts sport. It's one of the oldest fight sports ever, and I think it's one of the most lethal ones.
I'm Mark the Hammer Castanini. This is my gym, Hammer's Gym, the home of Yoshi. As a fighter, Yoshi's a dedicated student. She's probably in the midway of my system.
So the way Hammer runs the ranking system, they're coloured singlets. So the first one is the novice one, which is white. That's where everyone starts off. And then it jumps to blue, red, and then it goes to yellow, which is the beginning of advanced, which is where I'm at. And then from then, you go to green, brown, and then finally you get to black. The first fight for me was one of the worst ones. I hated it, but at the same time I loved it because I learnt so much from that one fight. It was all of my sisters, so I have 3 sisters, and they brought my mum along as well. I don't know why they did that.
Before I been to see her, I think it's okay for boxing, but when I came to see the show, I scared, I don't like it. Yeah, so I tell her to stop. I say it's no good because you are a girl. If you hurt yourself, anything from the face is not nice. But she say it's okay, she like it. Then I have to listen to her.
There's so many things that I did wrong in that fight, so many things I did right, and there's always room for improvement. And that's the game. The game isn't the actual fight. The game is getting yourself better, reaching that extra level. And I think that's what kind of flipped my mentality around. I was like, oh yeah, it's all right. She got it this round. I'll get it the next one. My injury list is too long. It's too long. Torn muscles. I had a few, bruised and cracked ribs. I've broken my wrist. I've dislocated my kneecap. I've broken my ankle, which is probably the worst injury that I've ever had. It's my most recent injury as well. Copped a few concussions as well after my first fight. Went just straight into the face. Yeah, it's not good. I've had a few people go up to me and go, oh wow, that's such an aggressive sport, You must be an aggressive person. I think that's sort of the stigma that comes along with it.
When I was a young man, I was taught, you don't hit women, and there's a lot of traditional values and aspects around how you treat women, open doors and be a gentleman and all that. That's how I was brought up, and I make no apologies about that. But I brought that onto the training mat when I was doing the full contact karate, and I come up against a girl that was a black belt, and I suppose I took her rather lightly, and she shin kicked me across the neck as hard as she could, nearly knocked me out. And she looked at me and she goes, "You give me your all." And in that one lesson I learned that on the training mat we're all equal, and you give everyone that same respect and you give everyone that same caution. I'll often put one of the girls that has a good ability in with the guy that perhaps thinks that because she's a female she doesn't possess the strength or the skills that they often do. I think it empowers the girl to know that she's able to handle herself, and I think it's a wake-up call to the guy. And it really levels their ego out, which then allows them to progress as well.
When I'm fighting or when I'm sparring, when I'm in class, when I'm doing Muay Thai, I'm not seeing myself any different from anyone else. I don't see them as genders and what they're more capable of. Yes, someone might be bigger than me, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're less skilled or more skilled than me, and it's sort of what you can achieve when working with them together. When you're giving yourself everything that you've got, you can't hear anything. You're looking at things, but you can't really see anything. The only thing that you can really feel is your heart beating, the blood rushing through your arms and legs, and you can sort of just hear your breath going. You're living in that moment. The reason why I keep training and fighting is because for all the times that people have said to me, "You can't do this, you're not capable of doing this," that's the reason why I'm fighting against it. Because I'm pushing myself to the limit. It's teaching me new things, it's challenging myself, and it's also showing people around me that I can do it. There's always a next level in challenging yourself, in bettering yourself. So I don't think you can really put a limit to where you're actually going to get. I would probably be training at this gym for quite a long time. I get the sense that, this is sort of like a second home for me.
She has a lot of power. Like her punches are fucking insane. Like when you landed a kick or a punch, you're like, yeah.
Well, I don't think I'll be spending any time in the ring with Yoshi Lee. We have questions and we want answers, and here to help us with our curious minds, Dr. Nicola Henry, a Senior Legal Studies Lecturer at La Trobe University. Welcome, Nicola. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks, Harrison.
Now, we've just had a look at a documentary called Girls You Fight, which deals with a young woman participating in Muay Thai, a sort of self-defence sport. Now, it seems that there's an increase in women taking up self-defence sports. Do you think that this is a growing trend?
I think it perhaps is in response to the growing attention that seems to be occurring around gender-based violence, sexual violence, domestic violence.
What do you think men could do to help women feel safe?
I certainly feel that sometimes when I'm walking, through a park quite late, and there might be a man following me, and sometimes I do feel, perhaps he should kind of back off. I don't know if we quite have the answers to that, but I think there does need to be kind of a respect for safety.
What about men's safety in public? Do you feel that men alone are at risk at all?
Statistics demonstrate that men are more likely to experience physical assault than women. So at bars and clubs, for instance, where alcohol is involved, men are much more likely to be the victims of a physical assault in those contexts.
What can we as bystanders do when we are witness to discrimination based on gender or any kind of discrimination at all?
Do something, say something. That's kind of like the bystander maxim around these types of behaviours. So for example, challenge problematic gender-based stereotypes and attitudes and beliefs, so around gender, sexuality and violence and masculinity. Also intervene and interrupt a situation that might unfold, for example, a sexual assault. And the third thing is to give support to victim survivors of both gender-based discrimination and also violence.
Do you think it's ever possible in like the far future that these expectations don't exist at all? That we should aim to not have any kind of expectations based on gender?
I think it's important to not see gender as a kind of problem in and of itself, because, you know, it can be a positive thing. I think it's really the hierarchies that are created around gender that are the problem.
If you could have one law just universally accepted overall, no questions asked, what would it be?
I mean, I'm saying this in a biased way because my area of research is around sexual violence, but I would say if there was one law in every single country, there needs to be consent to sexual intercourse, and that marital rape is part of that, that there also needs to be consent in the context of a marriage or an intimate relationship.
Well, thank you so much for being here on the show, Nicola. It's
My
been
pleasure.
an absolute pleasure. Coming up after the break, what is the price of feeling safe in your own street? So stick around, you're watching Real. Welcome back to Real. Remember to hit us up with the hashtag RealSex if you have something to say and want to be heard. Up next, do you feel safe walking around the streets? Studies conducted in 2015 show that an alarming 40% of women don't feel safe in their neighbourhoods at night. Should they put up with it? And what are we doing to help? Let's take a look at some of the social expectations we place on women in weight of blame. A powerful message of safety and human responsibility. And now, how much do we really know about sex workers? Here to help us find out a little bit more is Let's Talk About Sex Workers.
I'm a sex worker. Sex workers do a lot more than have sex.
Pretty much it's taught me everything.
I've learnt more through sex work and my clients than I learnt in 6 years of university.
It's taught me how to be aware of my surroundings. It's taught me how to do makeup.
I've had clients who are prime ministers and I know things about, high-level politics due to them.
Really? I thought I was living the dream of being a stereotype, because aren't they all beautiful and stuff?
I ignore that one now.
Is it the fact that I don't look like one of those dead models on NCIS?
We're just people like everybody else. People talk about sex workers and the general population. That's bullshit. We are the part of the general population.
I came out about 12 years ago. I've already come out of a couple of closets in my life.
My family don't know. I think they do know. We don't talk about it. It's that thing again. And all my friends know. If you are not prepared to know that I'm a sex worker, if you're a judgmental person, I'm not interested in having you in my life.
If it's said from a point of ignorance, which it often is, we will often have a little discussion about it.
When they use them, they don't understand how they've been used to hurt our community in the past and the epithets, and they should never be used.
It does. I don't feel that it will, it does.
I think the full decriminalisation of sex work is a starting point. I don't think it's a magic switch and everything suddenly changes overnight. I think having the same labour rights and human rights as other workers is a necessary beginning for sex workers in achieving their rights. People don't know us, and if you did know us, you'd find out that a lot of things that you think about us aren't true.
It's great to hear from a community so often affected by stigma. Next up, we may have been born with different parts, but deep down, aren't we all the same? Let's take a look at some of the things that set men and women apart in beards and bras.
This is a man. This is a woman. They're not exactly the same. I mean, men can do some pretty cool things that women can't. Men can go shirtless in public. They can wee standing up. And some even have the ability to grow glorious Dumbledore beards out of their face. Oh yay, look at me guys. I'm peeing. I'm naked with a Dumbledore beard, yay. Oh, oh. Women can't really do those things. Well, maybe they can do the beard thing, like my Aunt Gladys. But women can do some pretty cool things too. They can hide things in their bras. Wear heels without judgment. And even push a baby out of their hoo-ha. With these obvious differences, it's important to remember that both genders struggle with the same issue. Both feel pressured to conform to society's expectations of what it means to be a man or a woman. The truth is, how you want to be a woman is up to you. And the same goes for men. If you want to be a punk ballerina that loves listening to Hilary Duff, then why let society stop you? People need the freedom to express themselves, regardless of their gender, because if you peel it all back, we're all just people.
Maybe one day that wooden man will grow up to be a real boy. Well, sadly, that's all the time we have for tonight. From sex workers to drag queens to plasticine, we have covered some ground. I hope you've enjoyed our exploration of great Sexpectations. Join us next week on Real, when we will be taking a look at how leading by example can contribute to creating healthy communities. I'm Harrison Rose. Thank you and good night.
The strength of a nation isn't based on acquisitions, rather the ability of its people to be at peace in their conditions. Once we portray what we envision, a new day will have risen, then we will never see our communities as a jail or a prison.